Bruce, you and I have watched a lot of families, which is really our business. Just watching how people think about their money and their children and giving away money. Give me some of your insights into the mistakes that families make when they go down this road of thinking how they're going to give away their wealth back to the community. What are some of the classic mistakes that you see families making?
The number one and most common mistake I see families making in this journey is for the wealth creating generation to not share control, to not invite the rising generations to a new table, to sit as equals, to work together, to donate this money, to change the world, to have an impact. When the wealth creators created their wealth by having control. That's how successful business people make money. They control something and they actualize it and they make money. But when you get to a family dynamic, the philanthropic table is different than the work boardroom. And control has to be given up so that every generation, every adult generation has an equal place at the table. And that's what works. And when the wealth creating generation doesn't give up control, then the rising generations lose interest very quickly.
Let me ask you a question on that, just to challenge you. What happens if they don't care about that? If their motivation from the people who created the money, their prerogative, is to exclude other members of the family, and if bringing in an intrusion in their minds, other members of the family, into the process, into that dialogue, impedes the giving away the wealth, then who are we to argue with that? If they want to be somewhat myopic and be control freaks about how the wealth is given away, it's their money.
They certainly have that right. And many people do it that way, and they can be successful philanthropists.
Because you would agree that part of what you're saying is for people who really care about how a family will look like together 25, 50 years out, because the only way they'll be together is if they're all part of that process of helping navigate where they want to give their money to.
As equal partners.
As equal partners.
Right. You can be a successful philanthropist acting on your own, but if you want it to be multi-generational, if you want your family to thrive over time, if you want your kids and your grandkids and your great-grandkids to share something with you, wealth creator, then the time is now to invite them to the table when they're ready and have them participate as partners. What lessons have you seen, mistakes that families have made on this journey?
The two biggest mistakes that I see are, I would say, involves process. Very few families understand that to get to a really good place, it's going to take time. And families in my world are used to walking into a law firm or going into some traditional setting and being given an answer. And you and I know the process of working with families is much longer. They all have different voices, different values. And so the number one mistake that I see families making, which I try to encourage them to think differently about, is the process of finding that North Star is somewhat long, arduous, takes hard work, and it's going to take time. They're not going to just come up with some answer that's perfect for the entire family. That's the first mistake. The second mistake is one that is a buying behavior. I find that many families are rooted in thinking that one professional will have all the skill sets to help a family navigate to what they want to do. And in the families that you and I work with, they're large, they're complex, and neither of us have all these skill sets. So the trick that I find is explaining to these families to slow down and let other professional voices in the room participate in helping them. That takes extra time, that takes a little extra money, but what comes out of the muffler in value is through the roof. So this process of being more collaborative professionally, as opposed to just walking into a lawyer's office or an accountant's office and getting one answer usually, or being told an answer, is somewhat hard to overcome. And family, it's a buying behavior, because you and I are in businesses of it'll take time to figure out what they're saying, and not just through our lenses.
Philanthropy is like love.